This is a very basic piece of information that I wish somebody told me when I was starting out as a professional videographer. In truth, I was a joke. If you've been subscribed for a while, or if you've watched my past videos, earlier in the year a guy called Pete was popped up in a couple of them. He's a drummer for awesome band Harley and the Wolf. I did a vlog about how I shot one of their music videos, and we did a bit of a photo shoot around Belfast. That was pretty cool. He sent me a message the other day saying, "Set me on fire. Teach me how to take good photos, please and thank you." To which I said, "Okay." So Pete, welcome to your first and very public lesson in photography and videography, and if this benefits anybody else, great. For those of you who already basically know your stuff about photography and videography, this will be pretty boring to you, I'm sure. I will not be offended if you click away right now, and I'll see you next time, thank you. But for those of you sticking around, we're going to talk about the number one thing, in my opinion, to easily make your photos look more professional or more good. I get asked all the time, what makes your camera? How expensive is your camera? How many megapixels has your camera got? What software do you use? Do I need to upgrade my iPad? Stuff like that there is what people genuinely think makes photos better. An upgraded iPad. Yep.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but I got really like amazing news. I'm up to 4.5 days.
Oh yeah, nice one.
I know!
Woo!
Like I was hoping for 4 days.
How'd that
I'm up to
work?
4.5. I'm so fucking excited. Like I don't need to worry about getting more peripatetic people. Sorry.
Love you. Do you remember what I was just saying? Anyway, what's the difference between this photo and this photo? I am willing to bet that 99% of you will agree that the photo on the right looks more professional. It just looks better for one very simple reason: background blur, which is known as bokeh. These two photos were taken with the same camera, absolutely everything on the same settings, edited the exact same way. Well, I'll say the same settings. The only thing that was different, that's it. So what am I talking about? We're talking about aperture. By the way, I never saw myself doing one of these how-to videos. I kind of cringe at them, and I'm kind of dying inside as I do this. This is for you, Pete. I hope you appreciate it. Aperture is basically how bright your image can be. So, and it's measured in f-stops. So f, let's call it 22, is whenever the iris of your lens closes down, and f, whatever, 1.8 is when your iris opens right up and lets in loads of light. So obviously the lower number you can get, the better, because you're going to be in low light situations, so the more light you can suck in out of nowhere, great, that's brilliant. But a byproduct of that is when you open your iris up and you shoot at the likes of f1.8 or 1.4, is you get that blurry background. So that was me changing it to 1.4, and that was me changing the shutter speed to compensate for the overexposure of that image. I'll not go into, you might not always be in a situation where a higher shutter speed is what you need. You might want an ND filter. That's a whole different discussion. We're just going to talk about simply changing the aperture in this video. The first aperture that's like, well, that's quite a good lens, is generally regarded as being like f2.8. I'm a bit more pretentious about it. I love just the most blurred out background you can possibly get. I'm a sucker for f1.4. The further you get from the camera, the sort of deeper, the more will be in focus. Even at f1.4. So for instance, I could get really close up on this tripod right now at 1.4, and literally this point of the tripod will be in focus and this point won't. But the further I move that tripod back, kind of the whole head just as one becomes in focus. Does that make sense? I just finished this whole thing and I checked the camera and the freaking SD card was full and didn't record the whole second half of my video. Right, here we go again. When I started off, I was an absolute joke of a videographer. I had a Sony NEX VG20, which was actually a really good camera to start off with, you know, 9 years ago or whatever it was. And it just had this real basic kit lens on it, f3.5 to 6.3 or something like that. When I saw my competitors, other wedding videographers' videos, and they were all just bokeh-licious, lovely blurry backgrounds, just cinematic and all, I always just gave myself the excuse of, oh, they shoot Canon. That's what Canon cameras look like. I'm Sony. By the way, I was shooting Sony long before the A7 series ever came out, so purebred right here. I really wish I didn't waste about 3 years of my professional career just being overconfident in myself and making excuses as to why I shouldn't learn stuff. I really wish I just watched videos like this that just really plainly and kind of bluntly just explained how you get that look. Now, I'm not planning on making a whole big series of how-to videos. There's millions of them on the internet. I just thought that I would make this one. I don't remember what I said in the footage that is now lost forever or wasn't even recording in the first place. I'm genuinely really annoyed at that. To sum up, the first and easiest, just cheater, no real imagination needed method of getting better professional looking photographs is by unfortunately spend some money, buy a prime lens like a 35 or my baby an 85, f1.8 or f1.4, and open that sucker wide open and just enjoy the blurry backgrounds that you get out of it. I hope that was helpful. As always, a like and most importantly a subscribe would be greatly appreciated. I'll see you next time. Thanks.